We just turned America's toxic waste into a secret weapon. Deep in West Virginia's grossest rivers, we found billions in hidden metals. These are the exact ingredients for your phone, electric cars, and weapons. And China, who controls 90% of the market, never saw this coming. Here's how our biggest environmental disaster became a massive win. It turned into a huge gold mine, and now everyone is watching closely. Yeah, some of the most powerful countries are getting nervous. These were the rivers we all tried to just forget about. 20 years ago, Decker's Creek looked like it belonged on another planet. Bright orange water flowed like liquid rust, staining rocks with decades of poison. You could actually smell the creek long before you saw the water. Sharp and metallic, like breathing in pennies. No swimming allowed here. Parents kept their kids away. No fish, no bugs, just total death. The creek was basically dead. Locals still remembered when it ran clear, back when kids played in the shallows. But coal ended those days. When the mines shut down, they left something worse than just unemployment. They left behind a toxic mess that flows for thousands of years. The real killer was hiding deep inside those old, abandoned coal mines. Dark, flooded tunnels filled with pyrite, better known as fool's gold. Every time it rained, water seeped right through those underground cracks. It hit that pyrite and brewed up something nasty, sulfuric acid. The kind of acid that eats through metal pipes and dissolves rock. This acid acted like an invisible miner, stripping metals out of stone 24/7. We call this lovely orange cocktail acid mine drainage. It's so corrosive it ruins wells for miles, turning streams into toxic waste. For decades, we just treated this like a giant, embarrassing American secret. Just keep it contained, forget it, and assume it's broken forever. Engineers spent millions on treatment plants, trying every trick they knew. They dumped in tons of chemicals just to try and neutralize the acid. They watched the orange sludge pile up, and then just tossed it. In 2016, a scientist named Paul Zimkiewicz tested that mud one more time. And trust me, what he found was an absolute shock to everyone. The entire scientific world flipped out. That sludge was full of rare metals. We're not talking tiny amounts. These concentrations rival the best Chinese mines. These aren't your everyday metals. They're the MVPs of modern technology. They are the most important materials on Earth, with names you've never heard. Neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, and europium. These four elements changed everything for us. Neodymium builds those crazy strong magnets in your cars and wind turbines. Dysprosium makes sure those magnets don't melt down in extreme heat. Terbium is the secret sauce that makes your smartphone screen look vibrant. And europium handles the red pixels on every TV and computer screen. Without them, tech just dies. No fighter jets, no smartphones, nothing. Missiles miss their marks. EVs won't start. Wind turbines just stop spinning. Basically, the whole green energy revolution is leaning on these weird metals. And here's the kicker. Our nastiest rivers were making them by accident. We discovered that every single ton of West Virginia's dried toxic sludge held a full pound of rare earth metals. For context, some overseas mines usually have to crush mountains of rock to find that same small amount. But here in Appalachia, nature was doing all the hard labor for free. The acid melted the metals. The plants just had to catch them. The only mystery left? Figuring out how to pull them apart. This wasn't just luck. It was a secret solution, hiding in plain sight. A massive disaster turned into a literal gold mine. The Appalachian curse that might actually save America's future. But how does it work? Can we really turn poison into power? We built the machine that changes everything. Down at Richard Mine, Our engineers built something the country has never seen before. A facility that does more than just scrub away pollution. It literally captures treasure while it works. The plant overlooks a creek that used to flow orange with death. Now it cleans 500 gallons of toxic water every minute, all day long. But look, this isn't some basic cleanup project. It's a high-tech factory disguised as an environmental fix. The solution we found is surprisingly simple and elegant. Acid drainage is basically a giant chemistry experiment running for decades. Sulfuric acid melts the rock deep underground, grabbing every metal it touches. Iron, aluminum, and the real prize, those rare earth elements. The metals float there invisible, just waiting for us to measure them. Old plants just add lime, turning everything into a pile of useless mud. But we got smarter. We treat the water in two very precise stages. First, we carefully bump the pH to exactly 4.5. At this level, the iron and aluminum just sink to the bottom. But the rare earths? They stay right in the water. They're still invisible. Just floating. Just waiting. We just pump that first layer of sludge away. That's good for cement, but it's not the secret treasure we're after. The clean but acidic water moves on to the second stage. Now we push the pH up to a neutral 8.5. And that's the magic moment. The rare earth metals crystallize and fall like tiny metallic snowflakes. They form a dark sludge that looks like dirt, but is pure treasure. We pump that rich sludge into these massive white geotextile bags. These aren't ordinary bags. The fabric drains the water while trapping the precious metals inside. After a few weeks, the sludge dries into something truly extraordinary. A compact, easy-to-ship concentrate of rare earth metals. When we first tested the dried material, the results were unbelievable. A full pound of rare earths per ton, purity that beats expensive ore. All this from the waste and pollution we tried to forget. We're cleaning the planet and mining tech metals at the same time. Even the fish are finally returning to Decker's Creek. 50 years later, mayflies are back. That orange sludge? Gone. Water is crystal clear now. Families who shunned this creek for decades are finally walking its banks again. Kids are splashing in water that once burned skin. Unbelievable, right? But this eco-miracle is only half the puzzle. Stick with me. The big mystery: can we turn this nasty sludge into pure metal powder? That powder is exactly what American factories are starving for. The fix? Building a rare earth refinery right here on American soil. From mud to military might. It starts at the National Research Center in West Virginia. Engineers built the first rare earth refinery powered entirely by coal waste. Rows of stainless steel tanks fill the facility. Pipes and pumps hum an industrial symphony. Chemical mist hangs in the air. The smell? Sharp, industrial, and honestly, pretty purposeful. This little plant is tackling a job China has dominated for decades. It breaks down rare earth concentrate into individual ultra-pure elements. It's a nightmare process. See, rare earth elements are basically chemical twins. Identical properties make separating them a total headache. Almost impossible, actually. Imagine sorting identical twins who wear the same clothes and act exactly alike. That's the mystery here. Old-school separation takes dozens of tedious steps. Every single step scrubs away tiny impurities. China spent 30 years perfecting this complex puzzle. They built massive plants to process tons of material efficiently. America just walked away from this in the 90s. Buying from China was cheaper than making it ourselves. Or so we thought. That cheap shortcut was about to haunt the whole nation. But this West Virginia plant proves we can solve it again. Here is the fix. Step 1. Dissolve that dried sludge in a vat of hydrochloric acid. You get a metallic soup where rare earths float with the junk. Step 2. Solvent extraction. They add chemicals that grab specific rare earths and ignore the rest. By tweaking pH and temperature, they pull out one element at a time. It is slow, surgical work that needs constant eyes on it. Step 3. Each element becomes an oxide powder. These powders are our gold mine. Neodymium for magnets, terbium for your favorite electronics, and dysprosium for high-heat tech. We need all of it. The plant hit 99% purity. That's a massive win. That is pure enough for our factories to build magnets, gadgets, and defense systems. For the first time in our modern era, America finally proved it could handle the entire supply chain right here. From toxic creek to pure powder. A disaster turned into a strategic win, breaking China's monopoly and finding our own independence. But technology is only one part of the solution. The real test? That's happening thousands of miles away. Over there, the rare earth superpower is making a dangerous move. China's weapon, our answer. We just assumed these metals would always be available. It was a lazy assumption. Why mine here, when China sold them so cheap? Why drop billions on refineries, when Chinese suppliers delivered right on time? Why stress over supply chains when everything looked perfect? Turns out it was the biggest strategic blunder in modern industrial history. See, China didn't just mine rare earths, they built an empire on them. They built the mines and mastered the processing tech themselves, nailed the complex chemistry, then owned the entire global market. Today, China controls 70% of mining worldwide and processes 90% of all rare earth materials out there. Plus, they manufacture over 90% of those high-tech magnets that run everything today. Every single electric car motor and every wind turbine. Advanced missile systems and fighter jets, every single one depends on those Chinese rare earth magnets. This wasn't an accident. It was a calculated strategy. By 2025, China decided to weaponize that total dominance. The first move hit in December 2024, when China announced export bans on 7 critical rare earth categories. Their tech for mining and processing rare earths was suddenly off limits. If you wanted these capabilities, you'd have to build them yourself. Then, in early 2025, China tightened the screws even more. Exporting magnets now required a special license from the state. They'd review applications for security, meaning shipments could be delayed or denied without any explanation. The impact was both immediate and absolutely devastating. In April and May 2025, Chinese magnet exports to global markets crashed 75% compared to just months before. Factories across Europe, Japan, and Korea were suddenly facing massive shortages. Electric vehicle production lines slowed. Wind turbine companies scrambled for any alternative. Defense contractors started sweating over their missile programs. China's message to the world was completely unmistakable. We control what the world needs. You better act accordingly. But deep in the hills of West Virginia, in their university research labs, something shifted. Inside those plants processing orange water, the mystery was finally being solved. America wasn't stuck in a helpless position anymore. The tech worked. The Richard Mine facility was running like a charm. That pilot refinery was churning out high-purity rare earth oxides. It wasn't enough to replace China yet. The scale was still small, and production was limited. But for the first time in decades, America finally had real options. A path forward and a way to build resilience. The potential? Enormous. West Virginia alone is sitting on hundreds of abandoned coal mines. Every single one produces acid mine drainage, and Pennsylvania has even more. Kentucky, Ohio, and the other coal states are packed with them too. Look at the Berkeley pit in Montana, a toxic lake a mile wide. It's full of rare earths that could supply American manufacturers for years. If the tech scales and the political will exists, we have the answer. America could turn its worst environmental mess into its most valuable strategic resource. Poison becomes power, shame becomes strength, and total dependence, finally, becomes independence. The future is flowing in those forgotten rivers. This is the mystery that makes China nervous. Not the tiny current production. It's the potential threat to a monopoly they spent 30 years building. Because rare earths aren't just metals, they're ultimate leverage. They determine who leads in clean energy, who owns manufacturing, and who controls the high-tech weapons of the future. And guess what? America just proved those metals don't need China. The answer was hiding in the exact places we tried to ignore. I am talking filthy Appalachian creeks and toxic pits in Montana. These are the coal scars everyone thought would be there forever. But scientists found more than metal in those orange streams. They found a way to fix the land and help the country simultaneously. It is a path to clean rivers while building strategic independence. Stop wondering if this works anymore. The mystery is solved. The tech is solid, the chemistry is sound, and the metals? Real. The real mystery is how fast we can scale this entire giant operation. Will America actually invest in turning this discovery into a major industry? Between those rusty rocks and the healing water lies a future that nobody expected. A future where our biggest mess becomes our secret weapon. Where toxic waste turns to power, and the rivers we tried to forget become the streams that change everything. So what do you and I think? Can poison water actually beat China? Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. If this crazy solution shocked you as much as me, hit that like. Subscribe to keep up with the hidden discoveries that are reshaping our world. We are uncovering unbelievable mysteries like this every week. You definitely cannot miss what is next. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.